So Web3 is like wild, wild west. The wild, wild west is gonna get civilized. The next cycle is close, where adoption will be gaslit.
Hey everyone, I am Sanskar and welcome back to the Developers Cafe podcast. In this episode, I'm in conversation with Deepanshu Tripathi, founder at AssetMantle. We talk about NFTs, the crazy valuations, how to stay away from scams, and the Web3 ecosystem in India. Timestamps are given, feel free to move around, and if you enjoy the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Dipanshu, the main reason why I do this podcast is to talk to folks about their journeys and their experiences in different tech domains. So, firstly, can you give the audience a brief about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll quickly run through my journey. Computer science background, then entered into fintech. In fintech, got the opportunity to work on at a very deep level integrations of different payment mechanisms, tools, payment gateways, etc. Building all of that, realized what are the gaps in fintech, why I don't think that it will ever scale to be a global payment reconciliation layer. Reconciliation costs in general were kind of high, so I had the vision that if you are able to build a singular layer where there is no reconciliation required, although initially it might be low on TPS, over a period of time, that engineering problem can be solved, but reconciliation is something that cannot be solved, right? That's when had a look at the blockchain technology, started got very excited by it. Initial forays into it were more towards part time and trying to build tools around centralized exchange, mining, mining Ethereum, etc. But soon realized that I think thought that my expertise were more towards development and architecting stuff. So jumped straight on full time into development. Identified the tech that I wanted to build. Identified the mission and vision, which was a reconciliation-free singular layer for any kind of asset that does not require multiple layers to store and refer to open, but at the same time private. Found the first use case as a high seas commodity trading, built out Comdex, commodity distributed exchange, for enabling high seas commodity traders to tokenize their OBLs, oceanic bills of ladings, as NFTs, and enable escrow exchange financing of these. So that was back in 2017-18. That product has been running well. The trading product of Convex has been running well since then, and did not realize it at that particular point of time. But what we were building was basically a NFT, minting and exchange. The term NFT itself was coined in 21st September 2017, I guess. So literally have been building on it NFT since then. Our team even got recognized as the first team in the world to do a first interchain NFT transfer in 2019. Kept on building the modules, the standards since then, and worked on this open standard called Intel NFT standard. Concluded that in 2021 mid. Took whatever the definition of the standard was, built a POC out of it at the end, by the end of 2021, and 2022 came out of stealth, and with AssetMantle, which is a multi-tenant NFT marketplace. It's a layer one where anyone can come without no code, low fees, send transactions and build their marketplace without requiring deploying smart contracts or requiring any technical know-how how to interact with Web3 per se. From the creator's perspective, from even the consumer perspective, it's built on the Web 2 plus 3 foundations. Although at the backend persistence layer it is Web 3, but the UX, we have tried to keep it as close to Web 2 as transitionary from Web 2 to Web 3 as possible. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey.
Wonderful. You mentioned about asset mantle in this journey of yours. I want to know
Right.
that in this time, Web3 is hyped right now, right? So do you feel that building a business in Web3 space is kind of difficult, because there are some people who think that it's going to blow away. Some people are very positive about it. So what's your experience been like building a business in Web3 space?
So like uh, generally I say this that history repeats itself and we must learn from history. So when the internet came about for the first time, the web one per se, right? Everyone was like, is it something that is useful? They were like, you can find interviews where like Bill Gates tried to explain internet to people in interviews, but people say that yeah, it's technically useless. We have radio, we have like printed media. Why do we need something like that, right? And businesses were like, should we pay attention to it? Is this something that is worth spending the effort? Because at that particular point of time, there were no cloud. You have to do hosting yourself. Developers were few, so it was a very expensive affair, and people did not, in general, know how to get on top. And even if they got on top, the web one, was it even worth it? Was the ROI there? But we must ask ourselves this question sitting in 2022, like what business, including like chai wala or a pan wala right outside your building, is not on like the internet, right? So that's I think the same trajectory that we are gonna head towards, that we are heading towards with Web3. Initially, people are gonna be like, "Is it worth it? It's too cumbersome to onboard to. Should businesses even care about it?" But maybe 10 years down the line, we'll be sitting and we'll be like, "Yeah, okay, like literally the chai wala outside your building will be on Web3 and building like their businesses on top of it." So that's that's the like vision per se. That's the expectation.
Do you feel that right now it's a case of who reaches there first, there as in who reaches the top first for a business to succeed in Web3?
Absolutely. I mean, the first mover's advantage is always there. At the same time, it's a balance of sorts. Initially, the technology gives you resistance towards building good UX, but eventually, the product with the first mover advantage plus the better UX is the one that eventually wins, right? How difficult is it to build another WhatsApp again, right? Um, but why WhatsApp won and Yahoo Messenger or Google Messenger maybe did not win? Because
Makes
it
sense.
did something differently UX wise, and now it's like no one even thinks about anything else majorly than WhatsApp about with respect to texting. So I think it's both being there first, getting there fast, and getting it right, and both the components work together towards making it the next big thing.
That makes sense. So I want to drive this conversation towards NFTs because I want to learn from you. So
Right.
firstly, can you tell the audience what an NFT is?
Right. So, like going by the classic dictionary definition, it's a non-fungible token. So, token generally like represents. What does a token mean? Token means it's a receipt of something that, or it's a promise of some kind, which holds value that you can like exchange with someone else in expectation like of work done, or like as a means of payment, right? So non-fungible tokens, so like fungible tokens are basically like the common money that we carry with us. If I gave you a 10 rupee note instead of mine, the same logic. It doesn't matter who holds what. Non-fungible is that if there was like 10 rupee coin that was minted, let's say for a very limited edition in 1970, like 10 rupee coin that came out in like 2000s only, so like some special year in 2000s, and it held special value, then it will become non-fungible. You cannot exchange that 10 rupee coin with someone else's 10 rupee coin, right? So non-fungible token basically implies that like it's unique, and what you can do with this information, what you can do with building a unique token is not limited to, but currently the biggest use case is like collectibles and art. So like one of one arts, a collection of like a profile picture art, audio. It could be like that's majorly what like people know about NFTs as. When you say NFT to a common person, that's the first image that flares up in their head. But I personally have been building on very varied set of use cases for NFT. So I was discussing Comdex back in 2017, 18 itself. We imagine NFTs as something that can be utilized to tokenize invoices and enable financing and exchange of invoices, discovery, financing, exchange, escrow of invoices, right? So that's one of the limited use cases. Through our work at Inter NFT, we have identified a whole varied set of use cases which are much more advanced than financial use cases. And I would recommend and encourage people to head over to internft.org and check out the RFC 002 that documents all the different use cases and the capability for an NFT that are required. So the scope of what this token, non-fungible token, can be applied to solve what use case, the scope is huge. But currently, yeah, majority people see it as a receipt for a GIF on Web2 or a JPEG on Web2, right?
So how are these NFTs valued? I mean, I have seen some crazy pricings for some artworks or some GIFs, as you rightly mentioned.
Right. So right now the value is majorly like collectible value or the memorabilia value, right? If you remember when we were kids, we used to get these chips or like a packet, snack packet in which you can get like some card or playable of sorts. At that particular point of time, except for the value of like you playing with it, there was no value. But there were some people out there who were collecting it, and now you would find the same cards that came in a 10 rupee packet selling for lakhs, right? So currently, the same scenario is if you could travel back in time and you could maybe purchase the first movie that was printed in a digital format, or first car that was produced by, let's say, Ford, it will have value that is different than its face value, right? I think that is the phase that we are sitting in. Everything is new, everything is for the first time, and history will remember is that it as the beginning of something great, right? So people are trying to capture and that value, and the value of NFT is represented through that. But I think the main value of NFT, especially the one that is persisted on top of a DLT, distributed ledger, or a blockchain, is the permanence of it. If you have some metadata, if you have a very simple piece of data also that is persisted forever on top of the chain, and you have guarantees that it will not be mutated, so no one can steal away that particular piece from you. I think that particular aspect is what gives NFT its true value. The current implementation that we see of NFTs do not fully encapsulate that, because majority of the data, in fact, all of the metadata is stored on Web2. It's not stored on blockchain directly. So I think that's one, from my perspective, one aspect that gives NFT their true value.
But what do you think it says about the human values at this point in time? Because investing so much money over something digital and you cannot make any real life use with it.
Initially, when we were with fungible tokens in Web3, Bitcoin for a very long period of time was called fad, that there is nothing backing it. What gives it value? Why would you buy a Bitcoin for $10,000, right? It's just a fad. It's just internet money for the nuts, right? So I think that's until we discover the true value of these. Definitely the value of NFTs is not in millions the way we see for some of the NFTs that are being sold. But I mean, after the froth has settled down, after things have calmed down, I think that's when we find the true use cases of NFT that are possible. That's when we will figure out that what would you say is the value of a deed of your house, right? If some people will say nothing because it's a promise of a promise, and if the entity ensuring that promise is not there, then it's worthless. But for rest of the world, it means a lot, right? It's the same way, like if I like it's a medium. Instead of putting your deeds of your house on a paper, if I which
Right.
can be lost in fire or can be torn, can be like worn off. If I minted it as an NFT, then the value of the NFT will be the value of a house. There is no inherent value. It's just tech. It's a medium to the destination. It's not the destination itself.
So I read about MantlePlace. It's a highly optimized NFT marketplace.
Right.
What does that mean?
So, like Web3 and the general populace around Web3 kind of differentiate themselves from the Web2 people by like a few nuisances that the Web2 people do not understand. For example, seed management, having your own wallet being a like a hardware device or something. While the Web2 people are more than happy just having a username password based login which can be reset, and it's not possible for anyone to ever lose it as long as you can prove your identity, right? So that nuisance that web3 people are very used to and like and find themselves a differentiator is the same thing that stops a lot of people from web 2 to actually come up to web 3. So with asset mantle, as I was saying before, we have tried to kind of capture the web 2 plus 3 flows, wherever it's required that the facts and the proofs are to be persisted immutably and trustlessly. We utilize the chain or the blockchain, and wherever we can simplify it down to a web 2 flow without putting in the nuisances that the web 3 people love, we have tried to do that. So for example, we have a web 3 version as well, and you can give it a try at devnet.assetmantle.one, but you'll find a few like differences in that. The load times are high because it is directly fetching stuff from the blockchain. Transactions, for transactions there is no queuing. The transactions takes like 5-6 seconds to come back to you. Until then you are in a stuck state. While with the web 2 version that we are building at marketplace or assetmantle.one, you can see that the like part of the seed is custody, transactions are faster, load times are insanely good. There are a lot of analytics, there are a lot more functionalities. So the optimization that we are bringing to the table is nothing more than the optimization that we have already experienced with some of the web 2 products, right? It's just that we are doing it, we have picked a different way of doing this, is all.
Right. Also, there are a lot of scams going right now in Web3 space, like free drops, free NFTs. How to stay away from that?
I mean, if you're getting a free drop, you're just getting things for free, so no scam about around that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes basically you have to be a little bit careful with the credentials. Is all at the end of the day. And if someone is giving you something for free, then you must understand that then in that scenario the product is you, not the stuff that is being delivered to you for free, as the saying goes per se. And in general, I think web 3 there is a lot more probability of scams, because people, the web 2 people, the people who are used to web 2 are not very used to the like scams that happen on web 3, right? Earlier, like back 10 years back or 15 years back, it was very common for people to lose their passwords or for their like social media to get hacked, and people posting random shit there. Now it doesn't happen that much. Two-factor authentication, location, IP, etc. authentication people have put, and that doesn't happen, right? It's the same way with Web3 right now. The people do not fully understand how to manage their credentials, and like hacks happen. But over a period of time, like we will figure out better ways to like managing. Till then, it's up to you to be like fully informed and up to speed to be able to like avoid and sidestep some of these hacks.
I've also seen that for you to be involved in an NFT drop, you have to get whitelisted. What is that
Right.
process, and how can you figure out a genuine whitelisting versus, let's say, a scammy one?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, like identity is very difficult to verify on the chain, and that's something that we're trying to change with AssetMantle. We're bringing in on-chain identities that are like still privacy preserving. But in absence of that, in the general market, like verification generally, for example, it has happened multiple times that like let's say a very big artist name has been utilized to like build a NFT collection, and then they would come and say, hey, on Twitter or something, that hey, like we never published this. So for now, I think the best way to verify is to depend on centralized authority that kind of verify identity. So, for example, if you see a blue tick on Twitter or Telegram or Instagram, I think that's the best way. If source of information is those verified, centralized, verified sources, then trust on them. Otherwise, like in general, better to be cautious because these are like I personally have seen very innovative ways of doing hacks on like let's say centralized, decentralized exchanges, etc. We provide LP in a different manner, and people send transactions and steal your funds away. Very mathematical, but people do it. So I think it's best to depend on verified sources to understand what's happening, and then only like go forward. Whitelisting, as you were asking, what happens is in general it's a expensive task to mint a NFT on chain. So what creators do is they don't mint their NFTs on chain directly. First, what they do is called a lazy mint, which is minted on the database level, minted on a centralized infrastructure level. And when they find a buyer, they put a like base price for all NFT collection, all NFTs in the collection, because they have not identified what sells for what. And they just give you a blind opportunity to mint whatever NFT you want. When you click mint, you pay for the fees, you pay for everything, and then you get exposed to what NFT you get. So for you to get an opportunity to like press that button and take part in the casino, you get a whitelist. So some because some of the NFTs sell like hotcake. It's like buying an
Right.
MI phone like 5 years back, right? So to avoid that ruckus of a public sale, they just whitelist and limit the number of people that can enter the sale and get an opportunity to play that casino game once with respect to what they get when they mint.
Got it. And how do you think that NFTs are helping digital art creators right now?
So the major aspect of it is with art or artists in general. If you ask any like current artist, they would say that the biggest problem is they never get exposed to the royalty that the distributor gets to. So it's the distributor, it's the record producers that take majority of the chunk of their profits, and the end artist and generally end up with peanuts. Or that's true for like the upcoming artists. So NFTs help you control the whole distribution cycle, the whole royalties, etc. aspect of it through with the chain, with the on-chain code and logic, ensuring the fairness and correctness of it, and removing the intermediary, that is the distributor, the record producer, or let's say in this scenario, let's say even YouTube. A lot of people are very pissed off by YouTube with it demonetizing stuff and with profit share not being that good, right? Basically, NFTs are helping remove the middleman and helping the creators take control of the whole supply chain and the royalties.
So, what do you feel about the Web3 ecosystem in India right now? Like, are we at the right place? Are we going to the right direction?
So, of course, me being in Web3, I have to be optimistic about a lot of stuff. So, my opinion and view is going to be very optimistic. But to steel man the other side, which is that Web3 currently is not at the correct place. So, to steel man that argument, I would say, yes, there are a lot of scams and hacks. The institutions that have made money in Web3 are also were also founded by like hackers and scammers. So and in the current phase, we are seeing a lot of those institutions go down as well. So right now it's like the early internet, right, where hacks and scams and content is not curated per se, and it's better good thing to not let your kids on top of that wild west. So Web3 is like wild west, but talking from the other side, institutions are stepping in. Every day we hear about one new brand. Like we recently heard that Google's GCP is now going to be validating on Solana. We heard about like Facebook trying to get into the Web3 space through Libra, but that did not work out. Meta is the new thing now, I guess. You see Starbucks, Roll and Field, all these big brands trying to like jump on the NFT bandwagon. So the institutions are coming in, the regulation is coming in, the wild west is going to get civilized. So right now is a good point to start learning. If you plan to do Web3 project in a year, I think it's good time to start part-timing and learning like what are the basic constructs of Web3 now. The next cycle is close where adoption will be like gaslit.